the next big name wide receiver to fall, the domino to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers to start their offseason may be Cooper Kupp. We talked yesterday about what we'd give up for him, but the biggest factor in it the entire time is the money, because money talks in the NFL. And while Cooper Kupp is still a very good wide receiver, he's worth $20 million right now. And next year it's going to be just under $20 million if whatever team brings him on. He's 32 years old. He only played 12 games the last 2 seasons, both in each season. And you're looking at a guy that when on the field is fantastic, but you need him to be on the field to be that guy. Well, the Los Angeles Rams, in a feat of desperation here to get rid of Cooper Kupp, are willing to take on some of his salary, which is telling me that they are super duper desperate in this entire trade situation. And they're just looking to move on as quickly as they can to get anything and everything that they possibly can in return for Cooper Kupp, when realistically they know chances are they're not going to get anything from Cooper Kupp, or if they are, it's going to be very minimal. So how do they juice that offer up? Not take an L on his contract, which they would if they released him. Say, we'll take an L on his contract and we'll get something for him. That's our solution, our middle ground in this one. So I'll ask you to start the show today. What's your number? If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're calling the LA Rams, or the Rams are calling you and saying Cooper Kupp is on the market, he's on the block, we're looking to get rid of him, we're looking to move fast, what are you looking in return to say, okay, great, you take on this much of his salary because I'm only going to pay him this much money this season, and we'll make a decision on 2025 or 2026, when we get there. What is that number to you?
I would look at them if I was the Steelers and say, I want to pay him $15 million a year. Can you make that happen? I mean, they'd have to eat, I think it's what, $14 million of that salary. But the other option is, if they can't find another trade suitor, you're going to have to cut him. And that's going to be a lot of dead cap that you're going to have on your hands and nothing in return for it. So if I'm the Steelers, that's what I'm looking at. I'm saying, hey, can we get Cooper Kupp under contract for next year at $15 million? That's just a hair over $1 million per game that he's played the last couple seasons. And I think that's worth it if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially considering when this guy plays, like you mentioned, he plays well. He averages 60, 70 yards a game. And if he's healthy a whole season, the last time he did it, he won the Triple Crown. So I don't think that's left in the tank, but I still think there's a lot left in the tank for a guy who could become a very, very good option for the Steelers offense. He's an elite guy out of the slot and somebody that can help open up the middle of the field as something that they can actually utilize next year, which is something they didn't have this year. And it was a glaring issue all season long. So I'm saying $15 million. I want to pay them that much. Can you make that happen if you're LA?
I agree. $15 million is where I would go. So what does that do? Yesterday, I said that if they go after Cooper Kupp, they could still go after T. Higgins. They could still go after a first-round guy. You seem to disagree with that. If you're paying Cooper Kupp $15 million, does it open the door for another offseason acquisition where acquisition. Thank you. That word, man. It's the word of the week. It's the word of the week. We already have one, or we always have one. It's that one this week. Does that open the door for T. Higgins? Does that open the door for another name to come in here for the Pittsburgh Steelers to double dip at wide receiver before the NFL draft?
I still think you're looking at going a different direction. I don't think that you're going to go pay, especially if it's T. Higgins, because that T. Higgins contract, we talked about it, it's going to start at 30. So paying $45 million for those two and having George Pickens, while yes, it'd be great to say, hey, listen, our wide receiver room is Pickens, Kupp, Higgins. That would be phenomenal. But at the same time, I think the Steelers, as we've talked about, are more than one piece away. So I think you get Cooper Kupp, and then I think you go in the draft, and that's where you get that other receiver. I don't think you pay, especially $30 million to a guy like T. Higgins if you're paying Cooper Kupp 15 plus whatever you have to pay to get him to Pittsburgh.
I agree, but disagree. I agree that there are more than one need. There are significant needs for the Steelers. But I also think that if you could get Justin Fields for under $20 million a year, which is a very real possibility. If they don't, that changes a lot of this. But if they can do that, then I think at that point, your defense is paid. your offense, you are going to draft a running back. Even if you sign Jaylen Warren and another guy, that's not going to cost, what's it going to cost? Combined $6 million, $7 million max for either one of them. Super Bowl 59 is right around the corner, and it's the perfect time to get in on the action with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, they're giving all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5. This is your shot to make every last play a moment to be remembered. Don't wait. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code ALLSteelers. The crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. I do it all the time. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I think that your offensive line, you won't add anything that's expensive there. On the defensive side of the football, you're going to have to sign a corner, which is probably going to come with some money. And you're going to have to sign at least one defensive tackle, probably two defensive tackles. But if you get rid of Larry Ogunjobi, you just added $13 million to your salary cap that you could then spend on another Larry Ogunjobi. And I think that opens it up. You'd have to restructure a lot of things, and you'd have to move on from some guys, and you would be addition by subtraction a little bit. I agree with that one. But I do think the possibility, like, it makes sense financially to pay two wide receivers this offseason if you could do everything else and do it well. Like, if you're getting Dante, what are you signing Dante Jackson for? $6-7 million? Mm-hmm. Probably, right?
Yeah.
You're going to pay the defensive line. You're going to pay, and you should pay. If the Steelers cheap out on the defensive line, they have messed up majorly. You are paying money for those defensive linemen, and it may be two of them, and that's where things could come into play. And to be honest with you, like the Justin Fields thing, we're hoping it's under 20. If it's 25, you're paying him 25 because you're not going to let him walk. What's your other option? Like, it's 1 year. You're going to pay $25 million to take a risk. That's what you should do if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't play it safe. So there's a lot of variables. I agree with that. If the whole thing goes perfectly, I think the possibility of both of them is there. I'm not saying it's guaranteed or likely, but it's there.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more likely if you're going to see them double dip in free agency. I think it's a lot more likely that you see them go after a guy like Marquise Brown, who's probably going to come in at closer to like 8 or 9 than it is for them to go after any of the big dogs, any of the T. Higgins, even Chris Godwin. I think that money is going to go up high, even though he is injury prone as well. He's on the open market. He's going to get a lot of money. Steph Diggs is available, but feels like he's going to end up back in Houston. I don't want that in the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room to pair with George Pickens, or, well, as people that cover the team and profit off of them being drama filled, maybe you do want that. But no,
I was going to say, dude, content-wise might be fantastic. We might have a blast. Yeah.
But I also don't have enough aspirin. I don't think there's enough in the city of Pittsburgh to deal with that. So I don't think that they're going to go after anybody like that. I think it makes more sense if they're going to double dip to go after an $8 to $10 million receiver that can come in and be that number 2, like a Marquise Hollywood Brown, more so than anybody $30 million. But I still think if you get Kupp, your best option is going to the draft after that.
All right. So what is your max price on that second one? Max price, not realistic price, max.
If you're spending 15 on Kupp, and that's what we're kind of operating under the belief of, I think my max price for that one is probably that $10 million, saying, hey, 25 for 2 receivers, bring them in here next to George Pickens, especially whenever you're saving some money on Justin Fields. If that's what you do intend on doing, then you're looking at 40 mil for your quarterback and 2 of your 3 receivers. And I think you're pretty happy with that.
I agree with that. I I think I'd go 30. I think I'd go 30. Because if you're going to sign Higgins to 30, it might as well go. And I think the gap, like, you could probably go, like, if Christian Kirk gets released, you could probably go Christian Kirk for 15. He's making 18 now. You could probably go Christian Kirk for 15. I think that's a, pretty good jump to Cooper Kupp and Christian Kirk with George Pickens. If you're going to keep him in a draft pick, that's not bad. It's not a bad receiver room compared to what they have. Hollywood Brown, I like, but like, do I like Hollywood Brown because Patrick Mahomes makes everybody look good, or do I like Hollywood Brown because, he is good? I think that's a question. And I like Hollywood Brown. I'm a big Hollywood Brown guy.
Nothing against the guys that were in the locker room this year, but I would say if you bring in Hollywood Brown, nobody's going to look at that and say, well, it's another Van Jefferson. Well, let's go back 2 years. Well, it's another Allen Robinson. No, you're bringing in somebody who actually has receiving chops and has shown that he can do it at a very high level, not just as a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 at the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. Last question here I got, and then we'll move on because we're talking way too much Cooper Kupp here. If you were to pick George Pickens and T. Higgins, or George Pickens, Cooper Kupp, and a draft pick, what would you go?
George Pickens, Cooper Kupp, and a draft pick. I think it's more sustainable.
Ooh.
I do. I think it's more sustainable because either way, Higgins or Kupp, you're getting somebody who has a checkered injury history. But if you get Kupp plus a draft pick in this year's draft, whether that be Burden, whether that be Abuka, I think you're a little bit more safe when it comes to next year and further beyond.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. We're going to move on. We've talked a lot of Cooper Kupp, too much Cooper Kupp, I think, in the last 2 days for a guy that 32 years old. I mean, shout out Cooper Kupp, man. Would be an awesome pickup